A statesman emeritus. And as empty as that.
You know, we see these images of L.K. Advani. He can't possibly, Shiv Vishwanathan, be happy with the fact that he hasn't been given any role to play.
See, I'm quite sure he's unhappy, but I think we have to allow him a certain moment of dignity, that he's watching an occasion which is bigger than him.
That's Ravi Shankar Prasad, Gopinath Munde, all of them coming, touching his feet in a show of respect, Najma Haptullah. And we're seeing a lot of sadhus and sons. And we interviewed Ashok Singhal from the VHP just yesterday. They've been given front row seats. There's Yogi Adityanath, of course, but several others. And one of the things that Ashok Singhal said, Shiv Vishwanathan, is that we helped Narendra Modi come to power. We gave him a decisive majority. Now he must deliver on our agenda. They're expecting the Ram Temple, Article 370, Uniform Civil Code, all of those things to be done over the next few months.
But no, some of it is unnecessary. I mean, there are quite a few temples to Lord Ram in Ayodhya. So Lord Ram doesn't have an accommodation problem. You know, they don't have to go on with this temple thing. They have a makeshift temple anyway.
You may not want it. That's what the sons and the mahants who worked in Modi's campaign would like to now see happen. That's Nitin Gadkari, Uma Bharti, all of them touching L.K. Advani's feet. They're being touted for, Nitin Gadkari especially is being touted for a big infrastructure, transport portfolio, mega ministry. And what do these mega ministries mean? There's Sushma Swaraj, Maneka Gandhi, all of them touching L.K. Advani's feet. We're also seeing Shivraj Singh Chauhan, an image of Bonhomie. And remember, there's a lot of chemistry between Uma Bharti and Shivraj Singh Chauhan. They don't particularly like each other. They'll maintain social cordiality. But what do these mega ministries mean? The coming together of these big portfolios. Will it succeed on the ground? Will it lead to a successful implementation of Narendra Modi's promise of minimum government, maximum governance? We'll talk about that when we come back on the other side of a 30-second break. We're back in a moment. That's Vivek Oberoi. He's been going wherever. That's Sanjeev Balyan, the MP from Muzaffarnagar, likely to be a minister of state. Vivek Oberoi comes with a big jamburi. He was at Gandhinagar for Anandiben swearing in as well. Salman Khan will be coming in a few moments. So all the action. You've got a ringside view when we come back on the other side of a quick break.
Evolving technology, energizing lives.
The slimmest phone in the world, in stunning metal and glass. Xiaomi eLife S5.5.
You're watching live images coming from Rashtrapati Bhavan. That's Ram Lal, Organizational Secretary in the BJP, liaises with the RSS. The forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan, now chock-a-block. The last time a swearing-in took place in the forecourt was when Chandrasekhar was sworn in as the People's Prime Minister. His government, of course, didn't last very long. 31 minutes to go before Narendra Modi is sworn in as India's 15th Prime Minister. We're being told that Pratibha Patil, former president, has also arrived now at Rashtrapati Bhavan. This is a massive show of strength, with corporate India showing up in big numbers. In a while from now, we'll have Nawaz Sharif, who left about 15-20 minutes ago from Taj Mansingh for Rashtrapati Bhavan. He will be arriving here as well. Kalraj Mishra in those images. And once again, the sadhus and sons, who so far haven't ever been center stage. And I want to put that question to Shiv Vishwanathan. Now, coming center stage, some people will think that's the right way to go. They have a role in Indian society. Some people will say they should stay as far away from politics as possible.
See, apart from the touch of color they offer, it's a good substitute to seeing diplomats stiffly standing there. I think there's a human quality to it.
I object to that.
And I'm sorry, but I'll have to stick to my opinions. But I think the thing really I find fascinating is you have Lutyens Delhi as a background for a Modi regime to signify the end of Nehruvian Delhi. And that as history, I find fascinating. So you need sadhus and sants for that occasion.
General VP Malik, are you expecting organizations like the RSS to now play an important role in determining national policy, determining security policy. They've got very strong opinions on it. Modi emerges from that school of thought. Do you think he will stay focused on their policy, take their agenda forward, which is what they're hoping, or do you think he'll be his own man?
Look, I think he will take their advice, but what he will do and implement is what is written in their manifesto. And we have certain reservations about the RSS following, and but I think he's a very pragmatic person, as we have seen it already. Modi brand is different. He's both imaginative as well as a realist. And a combination of imagination and realism really is what is required today. So I don't expect that he will follow whatever is being told to him by the RSS. He has his own imagination, his own voice, and he's very assertive. Let's not forget it. And that's what I was going to say, that overarching factor in decision making in the government is the Prime Minister. I have attended CCS meetings, and let me assure you that Prime Minister is the last word.
No,
and
we
here
also
you have
just
an
saw
assertive Prime
General
Minister.
Bikram Singh, the current Chief of Army Staff, who will be replaced by General Suhag in a couple of weeks from now. How do you see that interplay with General VK Singh playing an important role as an important minister in the Modi cabinet, General Suhag, the man who he would have liked to see out of the position of the Chief of the Army Staff, both of them together? How do you see that dynamic interplay, sir?
So, General VK Singh has got his own portfolio now, as you were saying, of Northeast affairs, and I don't think he will like to, or he would interfere any of the army affairs. And I think it would be advisable for him also not to interfere in the working and systems of the Indian Army. Now, as far as the Northeast is concerned, let me assure you, it is a very responsible appointment today. He has been Eastern Army Commander. He knows that the Northeast is the window to the Look East policy of the government. And there is a huge amount of coordination required, both in terms of development of the Northeast as well as in terms of law and order situations.
Sir, as a military man, it's natural for you to say so, but ask any